Valheim is the best game I have played in a long time. In fact, I think it's a piece of art. Hi, my name is Matt, I'm a story writer and world builder, and I like video games. And this is my brand new channel. And today I want to look at Valheim from an artistic standpoint. Before we jump into it, I want to say that I am by no means a professional at anything really. These are just my thoughts, so let's make this an open discussion. So feel free to leave your own opinion about the game or this video in the comments below. But please, behave and don't offend each other. By the way, if this channel gets some subs, I will make more videos on other games and also Valheim, because I have a lot of thoughts on historical accuracy, weapons and so on. So if you are interested in these kinds of things, consider subscribing and sharing this video. Also comment and like for the YouTube algorithm, you know the drill. But for today, I want to focus on the topic at hand. So, without further ado, let's dive right into it. I consider Valheim to be a piece of art. One could argue that all games are art, and therefore this is nothing special. But I personally think that Valheim takes this a step further than most games. And to show you how, I want to look at all the different aspects that make a game. Let's start with the most obvious thing, the graphics. When someone says art, we mostly think visual art first, and then probably music. The visual style in Valheim is very special. The devs have made a very bold choice to make the textures really crappy, or shall we say retro, and go all in on light, weather and physics. This makes the game smaller. It is only 1 GB? Hold on, that can't be. It's done? What the? It is so small, no one will be concerned about disk space and everyone's PC should be able to handle it. This makes the game very broadly available to the public, which is what art should be, available to everyone. And that's great. Of course, if you do have a really crappy PC, the game won't look as great and therefore less like art. Or does it? Well, in my opinion, it is not only the visuals that make something beautiful, it is the whole package, which I will get to in a second. Of course, if your PC can handle it, the game looks great. Not like that. Don't get too close. Yeah, that's it. I don't know about you, but I personally love how peaceful the visuals look, and I spent countless hours just wandering around the meadows, building houses and performing just the most basic tasks. It is almost meditative in a way. But why? It is because of immersion. The game has a great way of telling you what to feel. So much so that you can almost feel it in real life. Whenever a gust of wind blows by, I can see it. And of course, I know how it would feel, and it makes me remember this feeling. I can see the inviting warmth of my home in the distance, and it feels so rewarding when you finally get home after a long day of farming iron in this disgusting wet swamp full of stupid poison enemies and get back that sweet, well-rested buff. Seriously though, poison is probably my #1 cause of death besides falling off my own roof. I can stand by the shore and really experience the stormy weather. It's not just a cloudy sky, but you can actually see it in the different heights of the waves, in the wind and the rain, and your character even gets a debuff from getting wet. Someone really put a lot of thought into all of this. And it pays off. It makes everything feel impactful, immersive. Then there are these particles in the air, like pollen that float around. And we just like floating things. It has something magical to it. Think falling leaves, snowfall or sakura trees. Now you might say these are just particle effects and the particles aren't even pretty. And you're right. And I won't even talk about all the different lighting effects. What even is all of that? It doesn't matter. Most games have them. But the beauty comes from the way they are applied. From everything in this game having its glow or rustic appeal in some way or another. The dancing shadows cast by my hearth and Eiktyr's head on the wall, flaming me every day for being a tiny squishy human. Isn't that what really makes a home sweet home? To conclude this segment, I think the devs put the tools at hand to good use and applied them with thought and love. And that shows. The mushy textures really don't get in the way of immersion for me. The unique style of the game just makes it more lovable, because it gives an old schooly vibe. The vibrant colors and lighting effects kinda remind me of Zelda, and the textures remind me a bit of World of Warcraft. And both games I have played a lot in the past, and they contributed to who I am today. And just like Zelda Breath of the Wild, it really makes you stop and stare in awe for a bit every now and then, and enjoy the scenery and music. Which takes me to the next thing a game needs to have in order to be a great work of art. The music. Now, I am less of a musician, but I have a bit that I can talk about because music makes me feel things, and I'm not alone with that. Have you ever played a game that slowed you down and made you feel relaxed? Like, really relaxed. And I'm not talking about walking simulators. I'm not talking about games that are meant to relax you, because these will mostly just end up being boring and tiresome. I'm talking having something to do and just enjoying it to the fullest, even if it's just a trivial or tedious task. This happened for me with only a handful of games. And it happened now with Valheim. Part of that is because of the gameplay, and I will get into that in a second. But what really stands out to me among all these games that come to mind is that all of them have amazing soundtracks. And it's so simple. You take an instrument that sounds like the scale of the thing you are doing, and you make it play at the pace you want the player to go. Valheim just does this perfectly. You start in the beautiful meadows encompassed by this amazing slow violin and flute playing this wonderfully melancholic melody that really makes you feel the harmony of nature and the wind blowing. It makes you feel kinda safe, doesn't it? And there's no big threat here in the meadows, so it fits. But then there is this relatively fast-picked guitar or lute kind of instrument in the background. And these jumps right here, which I think are called arpeggio, that tell you it's go time, because this is not a walking simulator after all. And so you set out to gather and explore nature, and I think the soundtrack is just perfect for that. Sooner or later you will figure out how to build a house, and guess what happens then? First we have the drums, hammering away, building a nice house. Then in comes the same flute from the Meadows music, showing you that these two are related. You made the right move building here. You're safe. Everything is peaceful. The pace of the music is slower now and makes you feel at home, like you settled down. And once all the instruments set in, I can almost feel the great hall around me. Makes me want to drink from a horn, eat half pig and get into a fight with some random guy. But it's not only that, it's the sound design in general. Just listen to this satisfying plucking sound. It's like ASMR. Now, Zelda Breath of the Wild takes this one step further, but obviously Zelda had a much larger budget too. If you are into music analysis, check out the YouTuber Scruffy and his video Invisible Sound Design in Zelda Breath of the Wild. Another channel I want to plug here is Sideways, doing music analysis for movies, which is one of my favorite channels, and the guy is so entertaining too. They won't know me, but make sure to let them know I sent you if you check out their stuff. Also a big thank you to liltommyj for allowing me to use this beautiful piece of music running in the background right now. If you like game music remixes, go check out his YouTube page too. Anyway, I digress. It's really interesting to me how much feeling the music in a game can convey if it's done right. And I think the composer Patrick Charleston and the devs did an awesome job with Valheim. It also tells you a lot about the environment you're in. Just listen to this Meadows music playing in the background right now in comparison to the sailing music in Valheim. The instruments used make you feel the vastness and deepness of the ocean, and the drum is beating the rowing rhythm. In English you even speak of deep notes or tones. It's perfect for water. I could go on about the music forever, like this mysterious kind of music that fits so well in the misty and dangerous plains. Or the dark and threatening Black Forest theme that makes you feel the threat when you first wander in there without any equipment. Notice the single deep tones like heavy footsteps of a troll. I want to turn back immediately, and that's what it wants to express. Turn back, you are not supposed to be here yet. The music alone tells you that. It tells you what to do. But in the end, the things you are doing matter as well. If you look at a game as a piece of art, you also have to look at the gameplay. After all, that's what truly makes it a game. Here are some simple examples why I think Valheim is superior to other games in terms of gameplay. First things first, and a huge win for Valheim. When was the last time you bought a new game that worked? It's a fucking blessing, and it feels so good. It really makes me hope that we can finally get past this era of unfinished games, because it sucks. We hate this. You hear us, game designers? We hate unfinished games. Looking at you, Cyberpunk, wouldn't have hurt anyone to spend yet another year in development and not be a disappointment in the end. Anyway, back to Valheim. One thing that makes it superior to other survival games is that it works very well as a co-op game, and this is because you are meant to work together. Of course you can enable PvP and f with each other, but generally the idea is to work together, build a base, or a village even, and slay the bosses together. What other survival game has bosses, for crying out loud? It makes the whole game have so much more meaning, and for some people this is important for a game, because they want to experience a story. For me personally, I can make my own story just fine, but having a silver lining just makes it so much better, because now I have my own adventures, while also having an objective in mind. Great design there. Speaking of design, building is also very good in Valheim. It's easy, snappy and satisfying, and whoops. And then you have the physics and limitations. I love how they did this. Not only do you have to think about what you are building and how it's gonna hold up, but you also get better materials for building higher and sturdier when you beat certain bosses and unlock certain materials, giving you a motivation to go out and do stuff. Sorry Bob, no building only for you in this game. So this is all quite the effort. And you need a lot of materials too. But guess what? It is so rewarding, because in the end, it even looks good. You can be proud of what you have done at the end of the day. For me, this is a huge factor since I'm always longing to create and make things. I also like that the devs made sure you have exactly the right building blocks to make a historically accurate Viking home. Or even longhouse. And they even put abandoned houses in the game for you as a blueprint. Of course, you can make so much more and build really high. But my point is, I think a lot of people like me appreciate realism in games. And I don't mean realistic graphics. In order to feel realistic, your actions must have consequences. If you cut down a tree, it might fall on you and you die. Or fall on another tree and take it down. And then that tree might fall on you and you die. Heck, you even need a roof over your bed and a fire nearby so you can sleep. And if there's no smoke outlet, you will suffocate. Also, you can't go to bed wet. Although, you can go to bed while on fire. The devs have really thought of almost every aspect, which makes the game feel so immersive and great. And deadly. And it just shows how hard life was back then. It makes you appreciate the safety of your home and overall life now, doesn't it? You don't have a lot of open fire anymore, you don't suffocate in your own house, you don't have trees falling on you, and you don't need to make your own shelter. Yes, I too kinda wanna live in a forest in a medieval village, because those were simpler times, but those were also deadlier times. And suddenly, I'm very thankful for the life we can live today. After all, there may be more beautiful times, but this one is ours. Like I said earlier on, I might also make a video on the realism and historical accuracy aspect of the game, but I can only afford this if this video gets a lot of views and the channel gets some subs. So spread the word, my friends. I really want to get this channel going. But enough on realism and back to gameplay. Another thing I love is that you level your skills by actually doing the related task. You always get rewarded, no matter if you are just running and jumping around or actually fighting. This is really good for immersion. Far better than leveling up your skills at some dusty shrine or whatever. And it shows that even the gameplay itself can contribute to world building. Now, you don't really get rewarded for building, cooking and tending to the crops, but maybe they will introduce this mechanic in the future. I'd really like to see that 0.3 chance to harvest 2 carrots by picking one. Also, you could get slightly better food out of a higher cooking skill, or slightly sturdier walls out of a higher building skill. I'd love to see that, and I think it would contribute to the gameplay. Another part of the game is of course the combat. It is fun, but it feels rigid enough to punish you for bad timing, but also not too much. Unless you are using a spear. Why does this suck so bad? I will never hit anything. Ah! You can block and dodge, You can sneak up on enemies and backstab them, and if you are good with timing, you can parry and you get rewarded with more damage. Yes! To me, it feels a little bit like Dark Souls, and that's awesome because everyone loves Dark Souls. Weapons also have secondary attacks and you have good feedback on hits. Even with the absurdly overused camera shake turned off, you can kind of feel every hit. The weapons are kind of accurate, but I don't want to talk about weapons too much for now, or I will never get done. That's a topic for another video. You know what to do. Another thing I really like is that there are limitations in exactly the right places, such as stamina. While you have stamina in almost every game, it works very differently here. It makes sense that your character needs to be well rested in order to function properly. The more comfy your home, the longer your well rested buff. Cool. Also, you can improve your max HP and stamina with better food. Now, there are a lot of games that offer buff food, but this is the only one I can think of from the top of my head that requires you to eat well. Otherwise you will just die in one hit and you will get nothing done with this little stamina. It makes it have meaning and importance, where in most other games I will just forget about buff food or keep it forever for that one special situation that never comes. But in this game, eating is important, to the point where I want to eat well. I even feel sorry for my character when he's all tired and flimsy because he's been living off of honey for 5 weeks straight while building a house day and night and probably spraining an ankle every other day. It kinda makes me care for my virtual life in a new way. And with eating being important, cooking becomes important. And by extension, you feel happy about every little thing you find. Like, yay, a thistle. It is weird and great, and it all comes full circle. It just makes the game so rewarding. An honorary mention goes to equipment. It is pretty straightforward, but it's very important as well. And whenever you come back to a previous area, which happens quite a lot, you feel great because suddenly you're so powerful when that area gave you hard times before. Yeah, like I give a shit if a troll hits me now. I can even parry him. These guys used to be so scary in the beginning. Again, the game rewards you for what you have accomplished. But no matter how well equipped you are, sometimes you just die stupidly. But dying is forgiving. You can just respawn and get your stuff back. It also has repercussions, of course, like your skills drain by 5%, and a lot of people actually criticize that. But I think it's just right, because the lower your skills, the less they drain. But it makes you watch out more and actually respect the enemy, and run for your life far more often than in other games. In short, it makes you value your virtual life. And that is something that you won't find in many other games, and is probably the closest you can get to permadeath, which would suck. Also, if you die multiple times in a row, there's no more penalty. So you will maybe struggle to get your stuff back, but if you just run for it, you won't drain your skill points too much, and your stuff doesn't even disappear if you die again. I think it's fair. Overall, I think it's the mix of the game feeling responsive, being hard, but also not too frustrating, and it rewarding you for almost everything you do that makes it so uplifting and fun, and the realism and how everything is tied together makes it feel very immersive. So, to conclude, are video games art? Yes. With all the tools devs have at their hands nowadays, we have overcome the Pong era, where video games were more like entertainment tools. With video games today, you experience a story. You explore a world, you listen to music, and thus video games are, or at least encompass, various art forms and should therefore be appreciated in the same way we appreciate a painting. And in this case, the devs are the artists, for being painters, composers, storytellers, and of course game makers all at once. They have created something that I personally find beautiful. Something that made me feel at peace in a different world, in a time where we are all a little downtrodden and maybe are longing for an escape. And in the end, they made something so beautiful and fun that it got so big in such a short time, it made a lot of my friends come together and play. And if nothing else, that is the beauty that lies within the art of making a video game. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I sure had a great time, and I hope so did you. I hope you had something to add in the comments, because I really want to hear your opinions, additions and constructive criticism. I want to mention one last time how much your subs and likes will help this channel along, so if you want to hear me again, please do like, share and sub, because in the end, I do have a full-time job and making this stuff takes a long time and effort. Writing a script, recording footage and editing and so on. So in order for this channel to get a proper start, this is much needed. Remember, check out the YouTubers Scruffy and Sideways. And if you like this video, you are gonna like Razbuten as well, who is one of my all-time favorite content creators on YouTube. So shout out to these three guys. Please do check them out. You will not be disappointed, and make sure to tell them I sent you, so maybe Senpai will notice me someday. Thanks again to liltommyj for letting me use his awesome music, and with these recommendations, all that is left for me to say is have a great time, don't let the world get you down, stay safe, Muffin out.